5, 4, 3, 2, 1.
Broadcasting live from the Newsmax studio in New York City. A fusion of politics, commentary, entertainment, and sports. Steve and his team bring you the latest news and opinion now. Here is Steve Malzberg.
This is a problem. I'm not interested in photo ops. I'm interested in solving a problem. And those who say I should visit the border, when you ask them what should we be doing, they're giving us suggestions that are embodied in legislation that I've already sent to Congress. So it's not as if I'm not interested in photo ops. I'm not interested in photo ops. I'm not interested in photo ops.
Oh, yeah, and there was even more today. He was with a bunch of kids who were college students or high school students who were taking a trip. He posed with them, said, I wish I was going with you. It's one photo op after the next. As a matter of fact, this is the photo op presidency. But the one photo op he doesn't want, and you could understand it, is he doesn't want to be seen on the border with those kids. That's the photo op he doesn't want. All right, Larry Kudlow joins us. But first, why does it always come back to Barack Obama? First, let's listen to a little bit of what the president had to say. Watch this.
I have a better idea. They should do something. I will work with them. Rather than engage in political stunts that waste time and taxpayer money, join me. Let's do some things together. Let's build some roads. Let's give America a raise. Let's help families with child care costs. There are all kinds of things we can do. Don't be mad at me for doing something. How about teaming up with me? Let's all do something.
Yeah, there you go. Rah, rah, rah. And joining us now, as promised, is the host of the Larry Kudlow Show on Cumulus Radio, CNBC senior contributor and former longtime host of CNBC's The Kudlow Report. Larry, hello.
Hey, Steve. You know, can I just add, it sort of annoys me how unsubstantive he is. So
you notice that, Larry?
Yeah, I mean, first of all, the minimum wage is a job killer. Can I just say that? It's a job killer. Particularly, it's a job killer for low-income people. And as Jason Riley's book points out, it's a job killer particularly for African Americans. So that's one point. Second point is, wouldn't it be better for him to have gone to the border with Rick Perry, Governor Perry, who's my friend, to take a look at the chaos and destruction down there instead of playing pool or instead of falling asleep while he meets with this University of Texas gal? I mean, wouldn't that have been better to go down to the border and take a look at some of the damage he's wrought by suggesting that everybody from Honduras can come to the U.S., which they shouldn't? Even I, who favor immigration reform, am completely opposed to this. I mean, why doesn't he do that stuff and make himself out to be a president?
I've never seen, Larry, the show he's been putting on the past, let's say, week or two, where he rolls up the sleeves, he makes these speeches, and he dares the Congress to do something. They're going to sue me, and he seems disjointed, he seems disinterested, he seems like he's making it up as he goes along, he's crying, he's woe is me. I've never seen a president act like this.
Yeah, I think, it goes, I don't know what it is. It goes from petulance to arrogance to sheer boredom. I mean, that picture of him with his eyes closed, he's like falling asleep, sitting in the diner with this University of Texas gal is just the most revealing thing I've ever seen. I've really never seen that. I've heard of cabinet members nodding off during cabinet meetings, but I've never heard of a president on the road meeting with somebody one-on-one and literally falling asleep. I mean, that's pathetic. I know that's not policy substance, and I like to be a policy guy, but I just want to put that in there because we do have a crisis on the border, and it has to be solved, and guys like me want immigration immigration reform, sensible reform. Until we deal with the crisis on the border, we're not going to solve the immigration problem. And until we solve the immigration problem, we're not going to solve the problem of we need more engineers, we need more foreign students, we got to do something with the 11 or 12 million who are here. In other words, we have pressing problems in America, and he's not getting to them. And the minimum wage thing drives me crazy because 99% of the academic studies, including the Congressional Budget Office, say that a hike in the minimum wage will cause major job losses at the low end of the scale. So if you're trying to help poor people, if you're trying to help marginal people, if you're trying to get them to go to work instead of unemployment or disability or food stamps, then why raise the minimum wage? I mean, how about this? Let's raise the maximum wage by corporate tax cuts where we are the worst rate in the world, and our companies, regrettably, are taking their money and their jobs overseas. Why don't we solve that problem for a change?
All right, let me ask you, before we get to your trip to California and a little LeBron James analysis, you had a great piece a week and a day ago. The jobs numbers came out, and everybody's ranting and raving. It's wonderful. This is great, and the best numbers consecutive months since 07, whatever. But you pointed out some real concerns in those numbers.
Well, look, there's some good news in there that, non-farm payrolls, the big companies have been hiring in recent months. So, okay, that's good news, and I want America to work, so I'm going to praise that. But I just want to note, again, if you look under the hood, there are a lot of serious glitches, and we shouldn't be cheering like this. Full-time jobs fell by 523,000, while part-time jobs rose by 799,000, okay? That, I believe, has to do with Obamacare. Obamacare is causing people to shift from full-time to part-time, which means, Steve, you get less money. All right, that's very important. The other issue is from the Wall Street Journal, my friend Phil Izzo, who is a completely objective reporter and editor. He looked at the broader numbers, and 2.1 million people got jobs in June. 2.1 got jobs, but 2.35 million dropped out of the labor force. And what Izzo reports, and he's coming on my show tomorrow, in all but 2 months, since December 2008, more unemployed have dropped out than found jobs.
Wow.
So we are still, there is some improvement. I'm not denying that. And I'm an optimist. I want America to go back to work. So there is some improvement. But there are these troubling long-term trends where part-time jobs are replacing full-time jobs, and more people are still dropping out of the labor force. You know why? Can I just tell you why?
Sure.
Besides Obamacare, okay?
Sure.
We are not growing. 2% growth for 5.5 years should have been 4 to 5% growth. And if you don't grow, you can't create jobs. And if you can't create jobs, you can't give middle-class families incomes. It's just that simple. And instead of playing pool, instead of falling asleep, this is stuff you should be looking at.
All right, LeBron James goes back to Cleveland, his hometown, where he deserted them 4 years ago. The first question you asked me when I told you about this earlier off the air, you said, why would he go back to that high-tax state?
Yeah, well, it's an odd story. I went, just while we were looking, I went to the Tax Foundation. Ohio's not the worst in the country, by the way, and John Kasich has cut taxes slightly. But the individual income tax in Ohio is 5.39%. All right, in Florida, it's 0. So if they're going to pay him $1 billion or whatever they're going to pay him, there's a big difference between 0 and 5.39%.
Right. Well, they can only pay him the maximum allowed under this whole salary structure in the NBA, but the advertisements and the wealth that he plans to build from going back home and all that is supposedly $1 billion deal. So yeah, it's
there's a lot of money. Again, the spread between 0 and 5.9%, 5.3 is a big spread. So now, as you noted, you reminded me, the GOP convention is in Cleveland.
Yeah, well, here's what I envision, Larry. I envision that LeBron James is going to announce that he is a Republican. He's going to pose with Kasich, trying to lower the income tax rate even further, and then he's going to be have the same slot that Obama had, not the keynote, but the same slot Obama had 4 years before he ran at the Republican convention. And the black vote is going to go from 5% Republican in the next election to 15 or 20% Republican.
Look, I love that. I absolutely love that. LeBron James, I've heard him speak. He's a good speaker. He's a good talker. He speaks his mind. Look, Steve, he couldn't be any worse than Clint Eastwood at the Tampa convention.
Well, here's the deal.
He actually, can I just go one step further?
Sure.
In terms of talking about taxes and the economy, he couldn't be any worse than Mitt Romney was at that convention. So I'm willing to put my money. Maybe I'll write an op-ed piece. LeBron should speak at the GOP convention on behalf of supply-side tax cuts.
I like that. I like that. And
that.
If he wants to do the empty chair like Clint Eastwood, he could have Bosch, Wade, and himself, although Bosch may go back, representing the trio that may not be in Miami anymore. And he could talk about that. Hey, listen, I know you came back from California. We got, in less than a minute, just give us a little synopsis.
Yeah, it was lovely. I was a Hoover Institute media fellow at Stanford University. It was a great pleasure and a great honor, and I got to meet all their scholars. I had two wonderful interviews, by the way, an hour with Condoleezza Rice and an hour with the great George Shultz.
Wow.
I regard George Shultz as the greatest living American.
Is Condi going to get back into politics?
No, Condi's not going into politics, but they both want a governor to run, by the way.
Really?
And here's two things.
We got 30 seconds. Go.
All right. A, Condoleezza said we must take out ISIS, these crazies.
Yeah,
The longer we wait, the more impossible it will be. And B, George Shultz said, instead of being in Baghdad, the U.S. should have its forces and structures centered in Kurdistan.
Wow.
The Kurds are our friends and allies, and that should be the
Larry Kudlow, love having you. We'll speak to you soon. Coming up next on the show, Dan Gaynor. Don't go away.